Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salam ala Rasulillahi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Halim wa salim bikum. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi barakatuh. Lil Ikhwani Fati fi Deen. Wassalamu ala mani tabahuda lil Ikhwani Fati fi Africa, Europa, America, wa Caribbean, wa Kuli Makan. To my full-baked community, Anzarama Assalam Jautali. Okay, my dear brothers and sisters, talk about something today is Islamic topic in many regards about our esteemed president of Nigeria, who was a Fulani herdsman, and he's passed on. And there's been a lot of banter about him. And I saw one despicable lady in Facebook. She professed that she says she's Fulani, but she's been raised in Europe or the West, and she was dressed primarily looking like an African American woman, very young, the way the young girls wear today, and that many of them have. She has very little clothes on, and she had a little earring in her ear, and so forth and so on. And she was talking bad about our president, and it was uncalled for. But some sister took her to task, and this is what we should do if we're in a position to do this, because it's not right. We have strict codes of conduct about persons who passed on. Even us as Fulani, we still have that, and we have also the Pulaco, and that gives you the indication, sentende, the shamefulness, bashfulness, and so forth and so on. And we should not be doing such a thing. But we have now people who are, especially non-Fulani, who are really tearing into the president and so forth, so on, his legacy and whatnot. And in some ways, it's not right because they're attacking him now where he cannot defend himself. See, so we look at this, and brothers and sisters, and it's wrong when you think about that, and so forth and so on. We can debate every time we want about his legacy, but we have to also remember too, we have to be respectful, especially of our elders and whatnot. If we agreed or we disagreed with how he ruled, that's another issue. But we should be respectful and whatnot, because our brother was Fulani, our brother was a Muslim, and our brother was a herdsman, and he should be respected for that. And it was no small task to run a country as big as Nigeria, with its complexities and ethnic complexities and rivalries, and the economy. Is not easy to run this. And plus, when you have others who fighting you just to fight you because you're Fulani, and fighting you because they don't want to see Fulani be successful as a president. So they just tried to sabotage his government, while he was in office, which was similar to, like, remember President Obama? He was a quote unquote first black president of the United States, but they did everything, and even some congressmen and senators even admitted they were there to go after him and to stymie any program that he tried. They would try to make sure he failed. Well, this is the same thing with our esteemed brother here. They tried to do everything they could to make sure that he failed. And he worked, and he did the best he could. And we have to look at the Subhanahu wa Ta'ala will judge him at the right time. But you sitting in Nigeria, you sitting here in Morocco, or you sitting in California, and you Fulani, or even a non-Fulani, but you're even Muslim, you do not speak ill of the dead. We have enough documentation about that. We have to stay away from that. Our esteemed brother passed on, and we should say what we're supposed to say as Muslims. But even though non-Muslims, you should be respectful. You should be respectful for somebody when they pass on, because you would not want someone in your family who passed on to, you wake up one morning, excuse me, and you see their eulogy on some Facebook page or something, or they're on YouTube and they're lambasting your relative. You're not gonna like that. So we look at this. We got a person here. Yeah, okay. Walaikum salam, my dear brother, thank you very much for showing up. I appreciate that today. And it's kind of late, I guess, or early in West. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, my dear brother. Thank you very much. Uh, uh, okay, okay, my dear brother. Thank you very much for showing up today, and I appreciate that. So let's look at this here, and let's get into this. Um, you know, uh, the vilification of our deceased brother and President Mohammadu Buhari. Non-Muslims and non-Muslims and non-Fulani are speaking against him. You know, I tell you, some of the stuff I saw that was, you know, it's like a coward. The person is not there available to defend themselves. So you say all kind of things against that person now, but you did not speak then. Suddenly now you get in Facebook and YouTube and you get to speaking against this man. And all the brothers, I don't care if you're a Muslim or not. I mean, if you're a Muslim, you should go to defend your brother. I don't care whatever, because Muslim aku Muslim. Muslim precedes any ethnic loyalties, and we should defend him. Now, we're not talking about defending everything he did. That's not what we're talking about. But we defend the honor that he has now passed on. And all negative talk against him should cease. You had your chance to talk when he was alive. You didn't do it. Now you wait for him to pass on. Now you want to do it. You should take them to task. Like that sister I saw on Facebook, our Fulani sister, took this other so-called, she said she was Fulani, but she's westernized. You know, she lived in the United States or in Europe or something, in Canada, and she was lightly catched. Her breast was showing. She was, you know what I mean? She had a little earring here, and she's talking crazy, but one of our sisters took her to task for it, which should be good. That's the way it's supposed to be. Now, what do our Nabi, alayhi salatu wasalam, have to say about something like this? He says, when a person is passed on, he says, do not swear or speak ill of the dead, thereby causing harm to the living. Look at the wisdom behind this. The relatives of the deceased. This is from our Nabi, alayhi salatu wasalam. Again, here you are sitting in your house. You just put your father, you know, to rest now. You wake up the next morning, you see TV, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and so forth and so on, all these people going after your father who's passed on. You would not like it. So you should think of that. And those who have ill thoughts and so forth and so on, again, you should keep that to yourselves. Okay, we have one comment. Let's see here. Okay, yeah. Okay, Okay, thank you very much, my dear brother. Our dear brother here is from Sudan. Thank you, Mohammed. Thank you very much. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much. Jazakallah khairan, my dear brother. Thank you very much. Okay, so we should not swear against our brothers and against our sisters or anyone who's passed on, even against the disbelievers. Even if they're disbelievers, you have nothing to say anymore. Yes, we don't give them janazah. We don't give them all these props as because they're non-Muslims. But on the same token, you don't do it. If you know the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, he was sitting about when it was a funeral service for a Jew. He stood up. Not in honor of him, but in honor of that he's passed on and that the dead should be respected. So he stood up as the petitioner passed by him. This was a Jew, okay, a non-Muslim, and he passed on. So our Prophet ﷺ gave the example of what you should do when someone's passed on, you respect them. So he stood up. He didn't give them salam. He didn't do any of that. He just stood up out of respect for the dead. And we should learn from that. Also, those that speak ill of our brother may harm and general population. Now, when you have a lot of Bantu, we have a powder keg in Nigeria in particular. When the Igbo and the Yoruba and some other groups, Tiv and other groups begin to speak ill because they've already speaking ill against anybody. Now this is their, against the Fulani. This is their opportunity. Now they have the platform. You have a deceased ex-president. Now this is the platform for you to sound off on him because your real aim is after all the Fulani. And we're starting to see that. And what's so interesting about this is that the Jews and the Christians have similar rules of law about the dead. And they don't follow that. They say they're Christians, yet they don't follow that. See, and he, and he was our brother. He's a herdsman. So we don't take kindly to those to vilify him because he's not available to defend himself. And we're not in a position to judge him either. So, like the other day, I saw an individual making a comment about our ex-president. And I took him to task. He said he was Muslim. I took him to task. I said, are you present? Are you inside his house? I asked that question to him. I said, how would you know what he's doing, what he's not doing? And you as a Muslim, you need proof, not what you hear, but you need proof to offer this type of criticism. And he didn't respond. When you know most of the time they're going to attack our president, they're attacking all the Fulani. You know behind the mode of what's going on here. See, it's not they're attacking him only. They're attacking all the Fulani because they have something to say against us. So now this is their platform. So they'll use this platform here, death of our brother, as a platform to go after all the Fulani. And we have to take them to task for it. As Muslims, we know as Muslims that our brother, who was a ruler, will be judged by Allah. We all will be judged by Allah, which is a special judgment designed for rulers. The rulers have a more stringent test than we do as those who don't rule. And I don't have to go through the hadiths of the Prophet ﷺ when he talked about these rulings about the ruler and what happens and so forth and so on. I won't get into that. But again, it's something like what my teacher told me, remember in Ghana in 2002, I told many times about this, but this part of it is good. I won't say the whole speech again like what happened. But he said, things that we do not understand, you leave it alone. When someone passes on, you leave it alone. You don't ask why. You don't say, I know what it is, because you do not know. Even though if he had cancer or he has some disease, we still do not have that predicate, so to speak, because Subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who takes the soul. So he could have took it even if he had it or he did not have cancer. We do not know. I'm just giving you an example. So you should be very cognizant of that. When you go after him, you say, well, because he was a ruler. That special judgment is designed not for you and me. It's for Subhanahu wa ta'ala only to judge him because he was a ruler. That special judgment is not for you. So we need to understand that, brothers and sisters. See, there is talk about our brother and his Islam. This is what also gets me a lot of times. We know I don't have to get deep into that. We all understand a lot of things about Islam. We know what Subhanahu wa ta'ala says about governance. He does not like and he does not champion, and he even says in the Quran, in Surah Ma'idah, about the Muslims who do not rule by his law. I won't have to get into that. But even if this is the case, you, me, or anyone else do not have the hujjah, so to speak, or the proof to judge his Islam. You cannot. No one should judge him without proper knowledge. His prayer habits. There's even talk about, I heard he didn't pray, or he prayed sometimes. You have no way of knowing because you're not inside of his household. And since you cannot definitively say you know what he's doing, you do not know. You do not have this. If he's reading the Quran or not, if he's praying, you do not have this evidence. So he's a Muslim unless otherwise. And none of us can prove that he was not a Muslim. We cannot go after him about his salat. We cannot. We cannot go after him about him reading the Quran because we're not in his house every 24 hours a day. We do not know. So you cannot judge him in this regard. But we have people doing it. And even if he did not rule by what Subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed, that's going to be with him, and Subhanahu wa ta'ala will judge him because he's a ruler and it's a special judgment. And that judgment is for Allah only, not for you or me. And so be very careful that he is a Muslim unless otherwise. Unless we have proof of other things, which we have not. Now, this is important, brothers and sisters. This is especially for the Fulani population because we're under fire. We're under fire a lot. People are after us a lot. And now they're going to take this opportunity to go after the president who's passed on, but it's actually a smokescreen to go after all the Fulani. I call on all the Futafula everywhere to challenge anyone who speaks ill of our brother, because he is not there to defend himself. The Christians and Hebrews, Jews, and Muslims have similar laws in regards to respect for the dead. So some person who is a non-Muslim and he said he's Christian, he should follow his tenets. And his tenets say, you do not speak ill of the dead. It's not approved. Okay, it's not approved by any of the prophets of old. And those who hate his rule, it is best to stay quiet and not offer any heated response. I can't say I approve of everything he's done. I cannot say that. But the best course of action, if you have nothing to say that's positive, follow the tenets. If you're a Muslim, follow Islam, Sharia law. If you are a Hebrew Jew, then you know the halakha, the Sharia of Judaism. You follow that. Christians, you're supposed to follow that, the halakha as well. You follow those teachings that tell you be respectful of the dead. But I'm calling on the Fulani brothers and sisters, in particular, if you're in a position to do it, you see people talking ill. The real main premise behind the attack is not only against the president. The whole attack is against the Fulani people itself, because now they have a vehicle to use that as a platform to go after all of us. And you have the right to challenge them in this way if you can, like our dear sister did in Facebook. She took to task this sister who needs pulaco because she was dressed with all her ornaments showing, lightly clad clothing and so forth and so on, the earring in her nose and all this. And she was going after our esteemed brother. But one of our sisters took her to task for it, and it's good. See, so we should take anybody to task, challenge those individuals who speak ill of our brother. If you're in a position to do it. And those who have something they don't want to say, they want to talk against him, it's best just to stay quiet. If you want to talk against him, you're in your house, okay, you do, or if you're among some people, but even that you shouldn't even do. If you're inside your house and you and your wife talk and you say, man, I didn't like this, that's one thing. But to go out in public to talk is another. If you are Hebrew, Jew, or Christian, you must follow your tenets as well and not speak ill of the dead and be respectful of the dead. You must do that. Our enemies have grown so accustomed to vilifying Futufula wherever, whether alive or dead. This is a simple fact. Right now, when you're Fulani, period, all the banter against us is very heated now. And so even if the Fulani people are alive or dead, they're going to come after us. It's got to the point where it's a mode now. It's like a genre to call us criminals, terrorists, and malcontents. Our leadership should set the example, because what happens is that these people see you, and they see your Islam. When they see you violating your own tenets as a leader of the Futufula people, and you're Muslim, they see you violating your own tenets, how you expect the others to respect us when you don't respect the Sharia law? You got to think about that, brothers and sisters. So our leadership must set the example. If they have nothing to say, then it's fine. They're within the Sunnah, they don't have to speak. But I'm talking about this incident where we have enemies who watch us, and they watch our mannerisms and they measure us on the limited knowledge they have of Islam, but they measure us on what they do know. And that's why they vilify us, because they read this, they say, wait a minute, they say you're not supposed to smoke and drink. But I always see all these Fulani at the one small store there drinking and smoking, for instance. And this is why they feel it's advantageous for them to do this. So be very careful, this, brothers and sisters. We're under fire. We're under fire. They call us criminals, terrorists, malcontents, and so forth and so on. So be very careful and mindful of that, okay? Please. And the leadership, our leadership should set the example on how it is to be a Fulani, how it is to be a Fulani and Muslim. We must have our leadership set this example. Our scholars, Fulani scholars, must set the example. They're going to talk anyway, but you lessen the talk when you keep to the Sharia law, and you're okay. And our leadership must be prudent and must show the best character at all times, because we are being watched. We got some comments here. Let's see what we have here. Salam, my dear brother. Thank you very much for showing up. Thank you very much for your greetings. Thank you, my dear brother. And we have, okay, Divine Conquer. Yes, this is the mode that happens. And it's funny. To be honest with you, it's like our brothers in West Africa consider us almost like foreigners. You understand what I mean? And I had this debate, and I said something here on one of my programs about this too, about the Fulani people when they came many centuries ago, of course, but people still hold the fact that they feel that we're foreigners. And I said, and I've said it this many times, none of us were original from West Africa. We left from the Exodus and Kempt, which is Egypt in English language, Egypt, and we came across to West Africa, migrated We're not indigenous to it. We're indigenous to it because we've been here for centuries. Okay, now, yes, but we still migrated from somewhere to be here. It's just that we have another group of people like the Fulani and the Tuareg who came later and migrated. So they're in the mold right now of doing this type of thing of divide and conquer and whatnot. But we have to be on our best behavior at all times. And our brother here is, let me see, we got our brother here. It says here, okay, no, excuse me. No, whatever. We got, okay, here we go. Okay, Africa has too much tribalism and very little unity. No wonder the pencil neck Tubab can take everything. Yes, we still have this. And a lot of this I blame on leadership. I tell you why. The Tubab is very smart. He's not going to put the best of us in leadership positions, because he puts the best of us in leadership positions. We're not going to respect him, and we're not listening to him. We will not have anything to do with him. He knows that. He knows that the best of us will take care of the population, irrespective if they're Fulani or not. They know that as well. So they put the weakest among us in power. And then they create a lot of turmoil and whatnot. And they push this ethnic strife. Because we have weak leadership, especially in the northern Nigeria, at this we're talking about right now, we have weak leadership. And we have weak security apparatuses. So this situation is going out of hand. If we had strong leadership, then this will help to go a long way in stopping this type of stuff. But unfortunately, since we don't have good leadership, tribalism is going to reign supreme, because the Tubab has a foothold through the country. He can formulate many things. And also we have the Christian and Islamic divide. That's stronger than any tribalism. We have Christians who are misguided. We know the story about the Christians. I have my debates. I've talked many times about this. They're misguided. And they also talk as well, and they have no reason to be talking, but they talk, and this adds to it. So we have that Islamic divide and Christian divide. We have that as well. So that's why this is a very, very sensitive situation, very, very strong. And we should be very careful of this, that we try not to add to it. I talk in this sense because the reality is there. I talk about these differences between us to get us to think about these issues, not to promote it, but to think about that. But as long as the leadership is weak, we're going to have these problems, brothers and sisters. Our leadership must, by their words and rightful actions. Allah knows best of all things, and may Allah bless our brother and forgive his sins. Our brother's passed on. He's passed on now. Subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best how he's going to judge. We do not know. All we can do is pray for our brother and ask that his sins be forgiven, as all should be doing for those who passed on, to ask for that for our brothers, because this is important. And so when we look at the issue, we look at our brother, and I saw a article from our sister. His wife made a comment to me that really made me think more deeply about his legacy. His wife said that he said before he passed on that when he passed on, he wanted her to tell the Nigerian people in particular to please forgive him. This is from a very proud person who shows his humbleness. Sentende. Everybody knows Fulani. We know what that is. He showed that. His wife said he said these words to her, and she repeated it to us. This is something from a man that's deeply religious as well. And his moments before he passed, we do not know what conversation, what was being said between him and the angels, we do not know. And between him and Subhanahu wa ta'ala, we do not know. But his wife said that he had asked, please tell the Nigerian people to please forgive me. Not that he's saying that because he's a human being, he did things good, he did things bad. We all do this, you know, but I was impressed with this deeply. And it gave me another angle on looking at our esteemed brother. For him to have this in his heart to ask for all the Nigerians to forgive him, because he did do things wrong. He know that. But he did a lot of right things too. He made maybe some judgments that's wrong, but we all do that. We all make judgments that are not good. You know that. We all do these things. We sin because we're human beings. But this made me even more impressed with him when I heard his wife make this statement. And when I heard this statement, then I said to myself, I'm going to get on YouTube to talk about this, to go after the people who talk against our brother. Because a good man will say things like this. A deeply religious Muslim man will say things like this, asking for forgiveness in his last moments. And he asked his wife to please ask all the Nigerians to forgive him. This is a man, irrespective of what you think of him, but his dying words to tell his wife to ask all Nigerians to forgive him. To me, that's very impressive. And it gave me another aspect to have more deep, profound respect and love for our ex-president. Because he was Fulani. He was a herdsman. And we should respect that. And we should honor our brother and treat his memories in a positive light. If we have nothing to say, if some negative thoughts pass, don't speak it. Remain quiet. Because our brother had a difficult task at hand of trying to run a big country with the largest population of Africa in it. And diversities are just unimaginable. And an economy that's unimaginable. So we have to look at this, brothers and sisters, and we must be respectful of that, of the difficulties he had. And not only that, we have a different world to the north, as we all know that. We don't have to talk, especially our Nigerian brothers and sisters, they know that. It's a different world up in the north than it is in the south. He had to manage this divide because he's Fulani. And he had to be mindful of his Fulani brothers, but he also had to be mindful of those to the south as well. It's not easy, brothers and sisters. It's not an easy task. It's not an easy task for any of us to rule a country the size of Nigeria like this, especially when you have restraints, because you have Christians and other ethnic groups who wanted to make sure that our president failed. No different like Obama. Obama, when he was first black president of the United States, we had congressmen and senators, again, openly saying they were going to do everything they could to sabotage his presidency. We had Christians and others and non-Fulani who were against him. We're going to do everything they could to make his presidency not good. And now many of them are talking as well. And if we're in a position, even if they're on YouTube and they're talking, you put something in the chat to chastise them and say, you a Christian, you follow your tenets. Did Jesus alayhi do this, order this? No, he did not. The Sharia of of Judaism does not allow for that. It's respect. So respect our brother. And those who take him to task, if you're in a position, you tell them, talk to them politely, and tell them they should not speak ill of the dead. Because he is not here to defend themselves. It's like cowardice. It's like being a coward. The man's passed on, so you say whatever you want. He's not here to defend himself. And you got to remember something, brothers and sisters. See, you got to remember what our Nabi had said about this issue. And he said that he talked about that, where is it here? Where is it at here? No, it's not here. Yeah. Our Nabi, with all his wisdom from Allah, says about this issue again. Our brothers passed on. So he says, don't swear and speak ill of the dead, thereby causing harm to the living, the relatives of the deceased. This is even those Igbo and those Tiv who are on their stations talking against our brother. I asked one, I put in his chat, I asked him a question. I said, would you want me to talk against your father who just passed? Or your mother who passed, and I make bad comments against her? You would not like it. So you should cease and desist this attack on him. He's not there to defend himself. And how would you like it if I start talking against one of your fallen relatives? Your father passed on, and I start calling him names, or I start saying things about him. You're not going to like it. So if you do not want somebody to talk ill of your family when they pass, you should not talk ill in this instance right now, because you have to think of yourself and not have a double standard. This is important here. And again, I went through, I find these things, I find these talks. I ask those who talk in Facebook and in YouTube, I asked, I said, would you want me to speak ill of your mother and father if they passed? How would you and your family feel about me making comments against your father who passed? You wouldn't like it. You'll be offended and you'll be hurt by it. And you got to understand the complexities of Nigeria as well. When you speak ill of a Fulani, you spurn the reciprocity that we have among ourselves. And you make it very difficult, because we have some in our Fulani community, for the fuller community, who are not restrained, and they have a tendency to act in revenge. We know that. So when you speak ill of him, you're speaking ill against all the Fulani, because that's what you really meant. Like this one station, Nigeria, I always see it all the time. I look at it, I watch his programs, especially when you start talking about the Fulani people. He can't stop that. They have a topic on hand or something, he goes right back to the Fulani people. But when he made his comment the other day about our esteemed brother here, I had to take him to task. And I asked him straight out in the chat. I asked him, I said, do you want me to talk against your parents when they pass? Or if I find out that your son passed on, do you want me to say something bad against him? Of course, they didn't respond to that, but I know he had to read what I wrote. See, because it's wrong and it's disrespectful, and you make a population get upset, and some of us don't have restraint and patience, and we act. See, so we have to be very careful of that, brothers and sisters. Okay, we have one here, and I'll get ready to close here pretty soon here. Oh, my sister, how you doing, my sister? Thank you very much for showing up today. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you, my dear sister. Thank you very much. So, brothers, in a nutshell, it's wise to leave things alone. Our brother's passed on. You may not like the way he governed, but you keep it to yourself. You may not like other aspects, you keep it to yourself. Our brother King Cams showed up. Thank you, my dear brother. Walaikum salam, my dear brother. Thank you very much for showing up today. I appreciate it very much. And subscribe, please, dear brothers and sisters. Please subscribe to our dear brother stations. You got a beautiful African history channel, and it's a good, easy lessons for you to comprehend and understand. And so he goes very slow. He's very deliberate. He's from the South. I mean, in the United States, okay? So you know how our Southern brothers and their accents and how their mannerisms are. Our dear brother, he gives a good history of especially East Africa, Kemp, and Nubia, and so forth and so on. It's very interesting. So please subscribe to our brother. Please subscribe. And yes, sir. And so my dear brothers and sisters, you know, I have my reservations, and I had things to say, and not in the open, but I made comments before. And I'll say this too. One of his daughters, I became quite friendly, not in a bad way because I'm Muslim. I don't mean this in a bad way, but I had contacts, media with her, and I'm not going to get into which one and so forth. And I used to ask her questions about her father, and I get responses. She explained many things because she's there inside the house with him before she got married and so forth and so on. But she explained about him, and so when I asked her about him, she got to explaining some of the things about him as a father. It really touched my heart, and this is some years ago. So I kind of laid back on my criticisms and whatnot. Because when I had the dealings with her, one of his daughters, I won't mention her name here, and she explained a lot of things about her father. And I had more respect for him because we do not know him, because we only see what he's there on TV. We do not know what's happened with him personally. But she explained some things about that too, about his cattle and so forth and so on. And I'm smiling because I remember that conversation. And this is, again, why I want to be respectful of our brother. And the Fulani people, this is the opportunity now for you to defend something that's good. Here, you're not defending a bandit. Here, you're not defending a mafia, or you're defending a rogue terrorist, so to speak, and whatnot. You here are honoring and protecting a Fulani, a herdsman, an ex-president, and a very decent human being. And so you should go out your way to protect his honor. The people who want to talk about how he ruled, that's not much you can do per se, but you still should keep them quiet if you have the opportunity to do this. And those who speak ill of him is where you get to be forceful under Islamic terms, like I was doing. I found many programs I saw, and I write in the chat, as you heard what I said. I give you the impetus from your elder to put, when these type of incidents like this to happen, like that dear sister, she said she's Fulani. I think she lived in the United States. She's, cladly, she was very, very nakedly dressed, okay? And question was asked also, I would ask her the question, your father passed, would you want me to talk against him? I know she would not like that. So she should be mindful of that. And we should be mindful of that, dear brothers and sisters, and we always keep that in mind. So in a nutshell, brothers and sisters, I'm hoping that you, get something out of this. Please pass this video on. I have different types of talks, as you know, and I had a very, very tough talk the other day. I won't get into that. I said what I had to say. I think it was last week, and that's now passed on. And now we have a task at hand. I'll be covering other subjects. I'm going to get to our esteemed brother, which I did here about a week ago, and talk about some of his writings that came out of Timbuktu. I'll get more into that and whatnot. But I had to talk about this issue, brothers and sisters, because I don't like that. I don't like to see that. And that's why I'm getting to talk to my Fulani brothers and sisters now. You defend our brother. We ain't talking about defending his legacy. No. You defend him as a Fulani. You defend him as a herdsman because he was a decent human being. He's not a bandit. He's not a marauder. He's not a kidnapper or a terrorist, anything like that. He was a good, decent man. That's what you defend. And when they attack his character, you go after them and ask them, how do you know? Do you live with him? No. And when they attack his Islam and start talking about if he prayed or not, you ask the question, were you there inside of his house? How do you know if he was praying or not? You have no way of knowing this. And the two things that left me very impressed with him was here the other day, his wife made the comment about him saying, please, if I pass before you, tell the Nigerian people, please to forgive me. This is a decent human being who asked for this. He humbled himself. This is part of the Fulani Pulaku. Sentende. Our brothers who Fulani, they understand what that is before they know what that means. He exhibits that. Even on his dying, he's dying now. But he had a wherewithal and respect and humbleness to ask his wife, please speak for me, and ask the Nigerians all to please forgive him. And the second thing that was impressive was years ago, his daughter, who I had conversations with, talked about her father, because I asked her. And she explained me about him. And I was deeply impressed. See? And so this is why it's important that we understand our brothers like this. And we defend their honor, not their legacy as rulers. We don't touch that. Because that will be touched by Subhanahu wa ta'ala. His behavior will be judged by Subhanahu wa ta'ala also. But his character and so forth like that, we should protect that. Because you have his wife and you have his children who talk about him. And he was a decent man, an honorable Fulani and herdsman. That's what we should defend. We have some comment here. We got, our brother, yes, true being, yes, thank you very much, my dear brother. This is true. Thank you very much for that comment. It's not easy to become president of any country, let alone country as divided. Yes, as I said this earlier, it is true, my dear brother. Thank you for sure. Wait a minute, my dear brother. Oh, yeah, okay. I'm sorry. Excuse me. I was ready to take you to task. Okay, yeah. Jam alhamdulillah, my dear brother. Thank you very much. I was about to say, I know you know better. I know you're going to have to greet us. Thank you very much for that. I'm just joking with our dear brother. I know he always greets, but I didn't see anything there now. I did see it. So thank you very much, my dear brother. Yes, you said it right. It's not. Nigeria's a big place, and you have the biggest population in Africa is there, and you have the biggest economy, if I'm not mistaken, it also is Nigeria. It's very complex. Then you have the north and south divide. Then you have the ethnic rivalries and so forth and so on. You have to the north, you have the banditry and you have the terrorism and so forth and so on. And in the south, you have a lot of criminal enterprises and whatnot, and so mafias and so forth and so on. You have all of these things he had to contend with. Then he has to deal with the Tubob and their apparatuses as well. It's not easy to govern. That's why he said, I know I made mistakes, but he asked for forgiveness because he knew that he did do things wrong. And this is a man who's worthy of our respect, because he knew and he said, I want to ask for that forgiveness. This is a decent man who does this, a good Muslim who does something like that. See, and so he should be commended for it. That we should protect. The people who talk about he didn't put this legislation in, he didn't put that legislation in. Okay, fine. Let them talk about that. But when they go after our president and our Fulani brother and herdsmen and go after his character, that's where we take them to task and we fight them on that. Let them talk about he didn't do this with the parliament. He didn't give us money here. He took loans from these people. He didn't do that. Okay, fine. You let them talk like that. But the minute they start talking about things against his character, please, my Fulani brothers and Muslims in general, you go to defend that because it's wrong, especially now to bring up an issue when he's passed on in front of his wife and children. That's disgraceful. That's why the Nabi alayhi salam made that point to tell us, don't speak ill of them because you're going to hurt the family. And so we have to honor that and the wise wisdom from our Nabi alayhi salam who said that. And also, when you speak ill of him, you awaken a anger also of the full of people in Nigeria and elsewhere who are maligned as it is. And we don't need any more talk against another brother to get something going. This is why this issue of attacking his character has to be fought. So my brothers and sisters, you fight that and you fight against that. See, and I give you the words of wisdom here. Again, you see them getting on there talking, you ask, hey brother, let me ask you something. Your father or your mother just passed. Would you want me to speak ill of them? They passed on, they're dead. He will tell you, no, I don't want that. So then why are you doing it to my father? You see? And that's how you do that. You don't have to swear and scream and yell and threaten. No. You just say things like this to set that person straight. Especially when they don't have no way of knowing his character. What his children say, what his wife has said, this is good enough for me. And relatives have said, this is good enough for me. And so we should take that, brothers and sisters. If there's any more questions, please let me know here. I'm going to be leaving here shortly for prayer. I'm starting a little late today, but I wanted to talk about this issue because I mean, there's a lot of talk, and I wanted to make sure my Fulani brothers and sisters understood this issue about this as Muslims, not to speak ill of the dead. We as Muslims, we're not to speak ill anything about his governance or about his character. We should leave all of it alone. You have nothing nice to say, be quiet. Don't say nothing. This is the best for you. Remember that. This is the best for you. Our Nabi told that. Don't say anything against the dead. And be mindful of that. And see what our brother here have to say here. Where we got to, come on now. Okay. No. Okay. Boy, what's happening here? Okay, here we go. Yes, but yes, he did. He left a great example. He did the best he could. And at the end, this is what to me is very impressive. It's very impressive. He talked to his beloved wife and he asked her to please convey this message to the Nigerian people. to forgive him. This is Sentende in Polaco. Everybody understand, our brothers know what I mean by that. This is Sentende. See? And so he did this. And that's impressive. That's a good man. That's a man who deeply cares about the people, all the Nigerians, irrespective of who he cared about them. So this is something, that that is profound. And I feel deep about this, especially knowing, as I do as a Muslim, I have to say something to make sure our other brothers understand and sisters understand the position of Islam as far as the deceased. We are not to talk against them and say bad things against them. Our Nabi made this point by telling you, don't do it. And so we should not do it, because you got to think about something. I go talk against King Cam's parents, say for instance, okay, make comments. I'm going to hurt him. I'm going to hurt his family, his sisters and brothers. I'm going to hurt his children. That's their grandfather or grandmother who passed on, right? Now suddenly I'm making all these comments against his family, and suddenly my father, my mother, or something pass on. I would not want to see King Cam making comments in the open against them. You see what I mean? This is why you have to, sometimes we assume we don't think, but you put them back to earth by saying to them, look, would you want me to speak ill of your father who just passed? They will say no. So don't talk against him, because his family is there. They could hear this. It's wrong. They're already, have remorse. They're sad right now. Their father's passed on. Her husband's passed on. This is not the time now for you to talk against him and then have his family to listen. That's not right. Okay? It's not right. Excuse me. See, so we should be careful of all of this, brothers, sisters, and take people to task for that. Again, the mode that you take on this is those who speak against him, saying he didn't do this with the parliament, he didn't nominate this governor over here, he should have put this man in governance over here, he didn't do much for the north, he did too much for the south, or he did too much for the north and did little for the south, whatever the situation may be. Let them talk. But you take the task of people go after his character. That's where you now speak. Because he was Fulani and he was a herdsman, and he practiced the art of the Pulaku, because he gave it at the last near his time of death. Sentende. He gave this at the last to show his humbleness at the last. See, that's where we take people to task for those who speak against his character. Let them talk about his governance. You can let them, whatever they want to say. He didn't do this. He didn't appoint this governor. He let this governor go. He should have put enough. Let him talk. Let them talk about that. But again, his character, that's where we fight them for that. Just remember that, brothers and sisters. When the circumstance, when you start seeing things on YouTube, see things on Facebook, please take them to task who comment against his character. Other than that, let them talk. They were talking about he didn't do this, he didn't do that, he didn't do this in the government. Okay, fine. He had this relationship with the Tuba. Fine. Let them talk. But the character issue, then that's where you take them to task and you fight them for that. Okay? And you do it good. And you do it respectfully by, again, asking them, do you want me to speak ill of your family? And that should get them to, yeah, he's got a point. So just remember that, brothers and sisters. So, brothers and sisters, I will be closing here. And our dear brother here, give your prayers for him, rahmatullah alayh, to him, the subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive him, and because we all deserve some recognition. We're Muslims, and when a Muslim passes, we always ask Subhanahu wa Taala for his forgiveness and whatnot. And when we have a Fulani passed on, we always want the best for them, that his sins be forgiven. Of course, this is the call of Subhanahu wa Taala. This is just something that we ask him to do. So please, my dear brothers and sisters, give your dua and ask for our dear brother here, and that his sins be forgiven and whatnot. Please understand that, and please think about that. And don't sit idly by those who vilify him and his character. He was a good man. Okay, bottom line, he was a good man. And don't let people vilify his character. Again, talk about his governance they want, talking about he didn't do this and that, fine, yes, okay, talk. But don't go after this man's his character, because he is not here to defend himself, and that's cowardly for you to do that. And you take these people to task who do that. So please heed these words from your elder here, and Elder Fulani and whatnot, and weigh the words that I said today, brothers and sisters, on this topic, because it's something that each one of us have people who pass on in family. We do not want people to speak ill of them. So don't do that. You wouldn't want people to speak ill of you. Remember that analogy, okay? Please remember that, because this is and at times now we have a lot of people who are against us, against the Fulani people, and they will use this incident to go after him, but really they're actually going after the Fulani people, because this is the best way to strike now. They have a reason to talk, see, because we have an incident now, and now they have a reason to vilify somebody, but they're actually vilifying all the Fulani people. This is what their real mode is about. So if there's any more questions here, I'm going to close here, brothers and sisters, and whatnot. And I'm hoping you guys got something out of this today. And this is a different talk, but I had to talk about this issue because our dear brother passed on. And I wanted to make sure that Muslims understand the rulings about this, and what our Nabi ﷺ said. He gave us beautiful wisdom about this. He said, don't swear against, don't speak ill, because you will harm the family, because the family is still living. They're upset. They're grieving because they have somebody, their father or their husband has passed. So you got to think about that. See, and you have to be very, very mindful of it. And I wouldn't want to see this type of thing happen here. His situation with the mosque improved. I don't know what you mean by that, brother and sister, my dear brother. I don't know what you mean. But the issues about his Islam, I don't touch that. And you shouldn't touch it either, because until you have the proof and knowledge of something, then you can speak. But even that, you have to be very careful of that, because without the proper knowledge on the Sharia law, and fiqh Islamiyah and so forth, Imaniya Islamiyah, unless you have the proper knowledge, you should just not even talk. There may be talk about something about he not praying. He didn't do this or that. We have no way of knowing, because none of us are there. Even though you live in that city, are you there in his house 24 hours a day? No, you are not. So you do not know. If you don't see him over here at the masjid, doesn't mean that he may not be praying inside of his house. So you got to be very, very, very careful of that, of the judgment on him based upon what somebody said. You got to remember something what the Nabi said in Surah Hujurat, which is Surah 49. He says, when an evil man comes towards you to talk about your brother, you weigh his words and you check it out. Don't act upon it. We have too many of that today. We have evil people coming to Muslims, having Muslims to go and do things on behalf, especially for disbelievers, and they do it, and then they find out that the person they just harmed, it was a lie. That's why Subhanahu wa Ta'ala tells us in Surah 49, verse, 6 or number 5. I can't remember which verse it is. Subhanahu wa Ta'ala talks about when this wicked man comes, tells you something about Yahya, you check it out first before you act. Don't act on this just because you heard it from him. So you be very careful of that. Yes, it is. And Christians and Jews alike have similar laws in the Sharia. They are not to speak ill of the dead. Okay, you be respectful of that, and leave their family alone. Don't hurt their family. They're having difficulties at the mosque last week. Things must be improved. So don't worry about this question. Okay, I understand, my dear brother. I understand. Yes. Okay, thank you for that clarification. I appreciate that. So, brothers and sisters, I got to go here. This is the last prayer of the night, and I'm older now. You know, we're starting to get a little bit more sleep, but I think we're up to 4 hours now because we got the differential of the night prayer and then the first morning prayer. This time of the year in summer months is a short window. So when you're my age is 70 and you only get 4 hours of sleep, I'm sorry, brothers and sisters. You know, your day is kind of messed up. You know what I mean? Because you need some more rest. And I don't function well unless I have some nap here and there. You know, and so we have, you know, a short window. In the winter, I like it. I'm gonna tell you why. Because we have a long window between the last prayer and the first prayer. We have 8 hours, 7 hours, something like that. Oh boy, I like that because I can sleep. I can make good night prayer when I get up. I can get up earlier and make night prayer, and I still have enough sleep. I like that. But when you get older, you may not look at it that way now because you're 30, 35 years old. I know I was 30, 35 one day. I can't believe it, but I was that one day. And you don't need much sleep. But when you get 70 years old, you need to have that rest because when you wake up without the sleep, sometimes you get cranky. Other times you start dizziness. I mean, there's a lot of things that happen to you. You just don't want to do much because you didn't get much sleep. You know what I mean? And so that's the way it is. And that's just Islam, the time of year now, that short window. Last prayer, first prayer, very close. It's like Ramadan too, it's very, very close. And man, you don't get much sleep. So during the day, you're catnapping and so on and so on. But that's Islam. It's a jihad of some sort. And so, I like that. But I like the winter too, because when the winter comes, I get a long sleep and I feel relaxed. I know I get at least 6 hours, at least of that sleep. I'm happy. You know what I mean? The summer months, I only get 3 hours, 4 hours. It's kind of rough when you get 70 years old like me. Okay, my dear brothers and sisters, I must let you go. Assalamu alaikum. Rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Anzarama.